Hello, you awesome friends. This is your pal Edward's here speaking. Thank you for being so beautiful and attractive and watching an interview with Edward. Now, I'm speaking to an old friend and client from a long time ago. One of my original first clients, actually, from when I started my business. Great guy. It's an absolute winner. And over the years, every time I meet this guy, he's even more and more successful. He's a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, formerly a registered nurse. He's a business mentor, speaker, and educator. And what he does incredibly well, he also helps practitioners around the world build their own practices. He's a great guy. And it's the awesome Rod Sanchez. How are we today, Rod?
Edward, how are you, sir? Always a pleasure to meet you again.
Oh, it's an honor having you with us, Rod. And Rod, I just want to ask you very quickly, tell us what you do, your techniques, how do you add value to people's lives and everything?
Sure. Look, as you mentioned, I am a doctor of Chinese medicine. Within Chinese medicine, we've got a whole concept of either acupuncture, herbal medicine, tuina or massage and other techniques, diet therapies and lifestyle, basically. So depending on what the issue that you're coming in with, so you may have a concern, some sort of illness, some sort of aches, ailments, or whatever, we then utilize one of those techniques to assist you, yeah? I've been doing this for close to about 20 years now.
Wow.
Combining both my nursing, my Western side and my Eastern side, let's say, to help those.
And so just on that note, because even though I've known you for a long time, I didn't actually, until this interview, I didn't know that you were a registered nurse. So were you a nurse originally? Did you go into Chinese medicine? What's your backstory there? Because that's news to me. I wasn't aware of that.
Look, it's my elevator reasoning why I do acupuncture. Everyone asks me. I've actually got a grandmother that was a herbalist, not a Chinese herbalist, but more of a South American herbalist as such. From there, I did martial arts, and the martial arts was incorporating some of those techniques, ideas, and concepts of what say. From there, I did my I did schooling. At schooling, couldn't get the marks to do Chinese medicine at the time. So I did nursing, and nursing took me on a different career for a little while. It is healing. It's taught me some wonderful experiences, personal interactions within people, how Western medicines, the ideas, the concepts of how they deal with things. From there, I started my Chinese medicine journey. My Chinese medicine journey started with books first. Then I went to a private college. At the private college, just before I finished, I became one of the first assistant teachers for the college that we're working with. From there, I opened up a clinic with David White, another Chinese medicine practitioner in Sydney, where we developed a really close sort of business model where we looked after clients in a fairly quick and effective way. From there, growing up in my styles and techniques, I've developed, personally met Dr. Tan, a famous physician which is now passed away. I've also studied Tung techniques. Within that, I also studied a lot of traditional physical therapies from Tai Chi, Qigong, cupping therapies, tuina, as I said before, scraping, gua sha, and moxibustion from different teachers all around not only Sydney and Australia, but also overseas.
On that note, I was going to say, and we've had this funny conversation before, and I think it's hilarious. It's so you're obviously you come from a Latino background,
yes.
Yet you're a Latino guy who's one of the top Chinese medicine experts in Australia. I love that cultural transition.
As I've maybe said to you, I also cook Italian food. I'm not Italian. So it's whatever your passion is. So if your passion is something that you love, you spend time in it. So that's all I could say with that. I did spend some time in China as well, so it is it's fairly important. And look, I have a lot of Chinese students that also started off by saying, "What's a white guy trying to teach me?" Because I've taught at the colleges or the universities around Sydney, and initially they're all puzzled why a white guy is teaching us. But as they go on, they realize that, it's the knowledge that's more important and the way you teach something.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's amazing what you've done. And I was just going to say, Again, just for the sake of our wonderful audience as well, this interview is being performed on Saturday, 1 p.m. On the 18th of April, 2020. It's during, we've passed the peak of Corona, but it's still very much in that coronavirus lockdown. Rod, I was going to ask you, what do you think about the times that we're in, and what are your thoughts when it comes to health and everything?
Well, as you know, history will always repeat itself. So we've had these issues before in history. Chinese medicine, the basis of it is based on pestilence, on viruses, on bacteria. These are the things that we started treating for thousands of years ago. As humans, viruses have been with us since we climbed down from the trees. We've been there the whole time. It's just that it comes in waves, let's say, where we have schools of thought in Chinese medicine, from the Shanghan Lun, which is the cold treatise, or the Wenbing, which preceded that, which was infections and fevers and what have you. All these formulas that we're using now in Chinese medicine that are trying to assist the COVID sort of epidemic are all based on traditional formulas that have been around for hundreds of years. Social distancing was available to Chinese as well. We were told to do certain things. Even the sign of when you meet somebody and you're giving them the bow is a form of not shaking someone's hand. It's a greetings, So you might say namaste, or you might say just hello by closing your fist. It's not a matter of always shaking and what have you. So we've been around for a long time. Yes, we can deal with the symptoms. We can deal with the outfall of what's happening to people's health. But pretty much, I look at it that we should be improving our immune system as much as possible, our defense systems. Like any flu or virus, it's not attacking everyone the same way. So that must mean that some people have got that X factor or something different than the next person. Chinese medicine philosophy always says, it's either a strong virus or a weak person. So we can deal with the weak person by strengthening him as possible. And how we do that? Well, living within the Tao, as in Taoism, where we try to eat well, exercise well, eat foods that are there for winter times, not during summer, and vice versa. We shouldn't be having bananas in the middle of winter time, because bananas really don't grow in winter time. Knowing winter time is a time of conserving and storing and slowing down, which is great for us now that we're at home as such. It shouldn't be a time of massive exercise and what have you. Come summertime and springtime, we can do a lot more of that. So that's, in a nutshell, there's nothing new that we're looking at in Chinese medicine when we're developing strategic movements for these COVID epidemics that we're having. We're going back to our traditional forms. We're looking at our old formulas. We're looking at our own points. We're looking at the individual at themselves and seeing if we can assist them in some way.
Yeah. It's funny you say the word traditional. I've been having, not from this viewpoint, obviously you're the Chinese medicine pro, but I've been having this, the whole world in a way is re-traditionalizing in a lot of areas. And I know you and I have had this conversation. It's kind of weird because it's not some advanced vaccine that's saving us. It's sitting at home, avoiding people, social distancing, eating properly. It's ironic. You're completely correct. It's sort of like the secrets of the old republic is saving us, not modern technology.
Well, a lot of people don't like it because it's too simple. It's like, it's similar to that of marketing, or it's similar to that of advertising. Simplicity will always win every single time. Getting back to grassroots and looking at, what is simple is sometimes too easy for somebody. They want that magic cure. They want the bullet, the elixir of some sort. But it doesn't come down to that. It comes down to simplicity, looking after someone's health as much as possible. Not going to the extremes of life, looking at it from a balancing point of view. And as you say, social distancing and just stopping a little bit and regrouping, all those, there's a lot of theories of what's happening around the world. We wear our tin foil hats and worry about things. Look, yes, we are doing economic resetting as such, but it's not a bad thing to keep everything in check as well. To look into your accounts, how much are you spending? There's a lot of trends in people are spending more in certain things and less in others. Not saying that I'm going to poo-poo anyone that's in the clothing industry or whatever, but are we, have we become too excessive in certain things and forgotten the simple things in life? I live across the road from this work here is a beautiful canals, Sylvania Waters, and there's people walking around there with their dogs, their children, they're interacting, they're talking, which is a wonderful thing, which probably wouldn't have happened. They'd all be down at the mall somewhere and spending money on things they don't need.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. As a proud minimalist myself, and I was gonna say, Rob, what's you've already said some great things such as health, looking after ourselves. What are some key actions and advice you want to give to all our awesome viewers? What are things we can do right now to help us better weather this whole Corona pandemic lockdown? What are some of your direct things we can do every day?
Excellent. Look, education is your number one goal. Educate yourself from your health, educate yourself on what you're eating, educate yourself. And education doesn't mean necessarily always, reading a book or something. It is talking. And that's what we're doing now. We're educating each other and we're educating the bigger world that's going to be looking at us later. All right. So first of all, I always suggest the morning is a very important time. Let's start from the morning. Yang rises. So you have to rise with it. Early starts are fantastic, as you know. I'm at work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, which is most people are still sleeping. But I think my most productive part of the day is first thing in the morning. Stretching is the number one goal too. Making sure you're stretching your body, making yourself nimble for the actions that are there to do. Some days might be cruisy. Some days might be it's a physical task. We have to go out there and fight in life as such. So some of the videos that I showed recently were of Qigong. So Qigong is a meditative breath physical exercise. So it's a movement of Qi and a cultivation of Qi or Qi energy. So we can, move our bodies, breathe better, and with that meditate. That's the air part. Then there's food parts. The food part comes in eating with the seasons, making sure that nothing is too salty, too sweet, too savory, looking at the 5 flavors that we have in Chinese medicine and making sure we've got some balance within that. Plenty of water is really important, water being the essence of life. From there, we go down to, having everything in balance. So not too much sitting, not too much standing, not too much lying down. We want to make sure that we're having fun, but also working at the same time. As males, we should be working and working with a little bit more muscle as well. So making sure you lift a little bit of weights, making sure your muscle development and your tendons and ligaments are working at its best. So whatever form you like to take it. I know, Jim, Ed, you're an avid gym junkie as such.
I was, Rod. They're all shut down now. I was.
That's what I mean. So then we're going to find something different and start lifting tomato tins.
Yeah. And what's your advice to women? So that's sort of male advice. What's your advice to women?
Women really need to incorporate the nourishing aspects of life. They too need some muscle work as well. But there's as males being more yang, is more explosive and what have you. For the feminine side, is more the subtle, the nourishing aspects. So hence why yoga and those sort of exercises does so well with the female audience as such. Because it's really in tuning their femininity within inside. But hey, within the yin yang symbol, we've got yin and yang, but there's always the small seed of the other. So yes, you and I can do yoga and that'll be fine. Yoga was initially developed for a lot of males more so than females. It was used like for stretching prior to battles and what have you. So in training your body, all the warrior poses and what have you there to strengthen your body as such. But nourishing is where I'd say the main grasp of what females want to do. And, they've got extra things to look at. They've got periods, they've got, all those aspects to look at as well. Making sure they're eating the right foods.
If I can ask you about periods, the reason why I bring this up is just to give some context to the audience. Our clients around the world, about 60% are women, about 60, 70%. So the majority of our clients are women, and we think women are awesome.
That's because they're a lot smarter than us.
Yeah, they are. Women are very intelligent, right? And yeah, I report to a very beautiful Chinese woman who's in the other room, Lassie. So a lot of women actually have, and again, I'm coming at this from a marketing point of view, asking for advice, but a lot of women, and like from a content creation point of view, when a lot of women obviously have their periods, it content-wise, it destroys them. And they just tell me straight up, look, Ed, I'm having my period. It's that time of the month. I just can't be on camera. I just can't do any content. And that's a conversation, obviously, I go, you better talk to Lassie. Obviously, you know, I know very little about it. What's your advice to women who are going through their periods? How can they, I suppose, try and get through it? What's your advice to help them weather that as best as possible and get back on the horse as quickly as they can?
Okay. See where their imbalance is first, you know, to get a good diagnosis from a Chinese practitioner. You know, I'm a little bit biased from that point of view to making sure. But with that said, looking at their cycles and really investigating what's happened to them, taking notes over that time. There's a famous saying in Chinese medicine that no woman should suffer from period pains. It's a massive statement. No woman.
That's what out there.
No woman should suffer, because you know there's things that we can do, and you know there's an outcry. I can hear it right now of women saying, "How dare you, Rog? You know, I've got X, Y, Z, endometriosis. I've got fibroid cysts, and what have you." Which is true. Your journey may be longer to assist, but the journey can be there. So looking at, you know, acupuncture is a fantastic modality. Herbal medicine can be done on a regular basis. Hence the reason why we introduce these to it. And look, it may be that your cyst is so large or your endometriosis is so intense that some intervention might be necessary. You know, it's 2020, so we do have techniques available from the Western side that we can use. I'm not going to say that it's the only thing to do is Chinese medicine or complementary medicines. Because that's what we are in Chinese medicine. We're very complementary, but we're sometimes so complementary that it may not be necessary to take the drugs or take the other avenues. Over the years, we've had lots of clientele that have come in with a condition, a medical condition, with reports, studies, blood works, ultrasounds, and it looks bad. And I never promise them that I'm going to necessarily help them, because you know it is a journey. We start that journey, and within 6 months to 12 months, they revisit that with their doctors, and a lot of times the parameters have fixed themselves. Now, I'd like to say that it was a Chinese medicine. Some Western people might say that it's not. It just happened to be that way. Spontaneously fixed itself. But, you know, maybe the cynic in me says, well, the only thing he did different was to do Chinese herbs and acupuncture.
Yeah, and I suppose it's a bit of a culture war. I've always, because again, I'm just for the sake of the audience. I mean, I've always been like yourself. I've been, you know, I've worked for the government. I've done a lot of martial arts. My wonderful, darling wife and my boss, she's Chinese, no, Hong Kong Chinese. You know, comes from that background. So I've always had a foot. I'm like, yeah, I've always had a foot in both the Western and Eastern civilizations. I suppose it's a bit of a culture war, is it? There's sort of like the thinking of the Eastern civilization, a bit of the West. And I agree with you. I think staying out of that culture war is not. It's not. I don't like seeing it as a culture war. I agree with you. Complementary. I think there are things that Eastern can do and Western can do, and when you pick the best out of both, you can't go wrong.
Well, look, you know, as when we say Western, with Western, it's very Eurocentric. So thinking that Europe was the answer to all the things that we've done. You know, there's much more than just the Eurocentric aspects. You know, they said that, you know, science was by the Greeks and medicine was by the Greeks.
And the Persians. And the Persians.
Astrology
and Persians.
And Persians too. Yeah,
we get part of that.
By all means. Well, I was going to get to that. There was, you know, the fact that the Europeans didn't have the monopoly on that. You know, they were doing astroscience in China a lot longer before the Europeans were. Then you have the Mayan civilizations doing their thing. You have the Persians doing their things. You know, mathematics would not be here without, you know, all those aspects. of the Arab countries, the South American countries, or well, we call them Latin Americans, but really they were Mayan and all the native civilizations for that area doing their own thing, from herbal medicine to a lot of, acupuncture-like techniques, So the Chinese say that they developed it, but I think human society has developed it. It's just that they were the masters of observation and record keeping. So a lot of things have been done over civilizations that didn't live on because no one recorded it.
Ah, I'm with you. It's a bit like how Marco Polo claims spaghetti. It's a bit like that.
A little bit like down that path, you know what I mean? The poor Italians have got it rough, from one side the pasta, but the other side they had the tomatoes were South American as well. So without two sides of the world, a lot of Italians will be hard up.
Well, guys, I gotta say, I love where you're going, Rod. This is awesome. Well, I mean, we can talk all day, and for the sake of the interview, I just want to say this is wonderful. What closing thoughts and suggestions and advice do you have for our wonderful and beautiful viewers out there?
The viewers, mostly marketing people. Edward, what are we talking about? What
I mean, we've got a global audience of men and women across the world. A lot of them are professionals and entrepreneurs, and a lot of them, as we do this video, are locked at home, frustrated, going out of their brain. Because we're, again, for the sake of the global audience, in Australia, we're allowed to walk outside. A lot of our viewers aren't even allowed to leave their apartments or homes. Wow. So we've got a lot of, and I just want to say I feel for you. We're very lucky to be in Australia. We've got some flexibility. But what's your advice to all the wonderful professionals and entrepreneurs that are watching this video that don't feel good? They're stuck at home. What's your closing thoughts to those great people?
Look, Ed, I was looking back and thinking about these aspects, and as you know, I got really in contact with you because I needed a bit of a jump start again in my ways. My business went from being really, really popular and busy to nearly zero overnight. There was a big dramatic drop, and I was like thinking, it'll be all right. And as I am, I thought, what do we need to do? And as you say, we need to double down, go even harder a little bit. But as much as we're interacting with Zoom and we're interacting with videos and what have you, I'm a true believer that yes, we should be, interacting with each other and watching videos and learning and educating ourselves and what have you. But we also need to take a little bit of time for ourselves to step a little bit back and go, hey, what's important for us? So I know that I've spent much more time with my kids. I've spent a little bit more time on the phone talking to family overseas, family that, I've got to get those brain cells working, speaking in Spanish or in Italian or in Chinese. There's all these different languages that I have to sort of remember because I haven't used it in such a long time. But from a personal point of view, look, I suggested it before, breathing techniques and meditation is really going to be one of those things that we're going to look after. Look after your lungs. Your lungs are your precious organ. And how do you waste your lung? Well, having, sometimes too many spicy foods can waste your energy that way. Or having too much, not enough movements as well. So not enough exercise. So you need to get a little bit of exercise into your system. Of course, as you said, we're in Australia. I've got the availability to jump on my bike and I'm going to ride my bike home. Some other countries I can't do that. We've got a national park that's near us, and it's 40 kilometers of bike tracks that I can look at. And some days I may cross one person during that time in the whole time that I'm there. So unfortunately, our friends in other countries are going to have to sort of look at other avenues and looking at meditation or Tai Chi is going to be one of those beautiful things. The space of your bedroom would be enough space to do Tai Chi. Yeah, you don't need much space for that. And then looking at our foods, do we need to, you said you're a minimalist, so it's very true. We should be reducing the things that we have and not consuming as much sometimes. Consumption can sometimes, and I know it's an ugly word when you're working in the capitalist world, but we can consume more of other things, more knowledge, more study, more ideas and concepts, be more well educated, Do we need to, you know, go out to dinner 5-6 times a week? Maybe not. And then we're noticing that as well at the moment.
Wow, that's just beautifully well said, Rod. Love where you're going. And I was just going to say, as your final closing point, what's your final closing point for the audience to keep them all thinking and keep them all winning?
Oh, well, keep on talking to Edward, I think, would be one of them.
Thank you. And in addition to talking to Edward, who appreciates
it. Look, I highly recommend those who haven't tried acupuncture to try it. You know, like I said, I'm fairly biased in my views. Have a look at it, into what it can achieve for you. It's not necessarily always that you have to have a problem either. So a lot of people, when I meet them in parties or events, and they said to me also, what can you have acupuncture for? It's like, well, as long as you've got a pulse, you can have acupuncture. It's one of those things that everything from, you know, my normal routine for a day can be back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, all the pains around the body that are acute. Chronic pains, so from people with arthritis and what have you. But then we look at other internal problems, so from digestive aspects. You know, having constant bloating is not a normal thing to do. There might be you're going too much, too little, too soft, too hard, anything in between. You may have other issues like poor circulation. That's the physical side. And then you've got everything from the head up as well. So ear, nose and throat, so, you know, sinuses and tonsils and eye problems and follicle issues, all these type of things we can look at a little bit. From there, the psycho-emotional aspects, you know, we work well. So many people that have gone to acupuncture, and I think you have, Edward, they say they're coming for one issue, but they usually walk out saying, my goodness, do I feel calm or what? I feel so chilled out after the acupuncture. I know that when I went for my conditions initially, many, you know, 30-something years ago, yes, I went for one thing, but I stayed because of the positive aspects that it gave for me. From better way of thinking, more concentration, better digestion, and just being a better person as well. I know it's a big statement, but it can be that profound for some people.
Yeah, I agree with you. As a personal user of acupuncture, I think it's great. You know, you're definitely preaching to the choir. Rod, I just want to say a big thank you. And from our viewers across the world, Rod, how can people get in contact with you?
Excellent. Look, my name is Rod Sanchez, 2 Ds in Rod. I always send people either to my Facebook site or my website. I have a lot of information there, both on my YouTube videos. So from how to manage pain and how to look at the techniques that I do. So from auricular therapies and what have you. So I've got a YouTube video. So 2 Ds in Rod and Sanchez. It's a very, Rodrigo Sanchez is my name, but it's a very popular name. And if you typed in Rodrigo Sanchez, you'd be up to page, you know, 55 before you found me, because there's a lot more famous Rodrigo Sanchez than myself. Musical artists and actors and drivers and everything else. Put 2 Ds in Rod and you can definitely find me straight away. We look at, you know, I assist a lot of other students and what have you, that I look after in their businesses, as you mentioned before, and in the mentoring aspects. And that's what I like doing as well, is making sure that everyone wins. You know, being just me is no fun. You know, you want to be having people around you being winners as well. And I think that's one of your mottos, Edward, too, that looking to be able to help others in growing. So, and I say to any sort of businesses, I say, please give me a call if you're looking for that. But if you're looking for medical or some advice in your health, more than happy to always help people. You know, I always assign 5-10 minutes free time, free consultations as such, for people to call me up and say, hey, do you think you can help me with this? And not always will I say yes. There's occasions where I might say, you know what, I've got someone that's better for you for that instance. Or do you know what, I don't think that's the avenue that you should be looking at. We can assist with PXY, but we can't do ABC for you, which is still can be of benefit for you. As you know, making sure that everyone wins is important, as I said before. You know, I don't know, as much as possible that I can help with.
Rod, And on that note, I just want to say your generosity is amazing. Thank you for this interview. Everyone, Rod's a great guy. Please get in contact with him. Rod has stuck pins in me anytime, and he's an artist and a master with those pins. Rod, thank you. I just want to say we appreciate you and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Edward. Pleasure.